What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality Podcast. I'm your host. I am Caitlin Kenneth Smith. And on today's episode, I sit down and have an incredible conversation with my new friend, Emma Kirchner. And she was a software engineer turned fitness coach. So right now, she's a holistic health and fitness coach, focusing not just on training and macros, but also focusing on helping her clients develop a better, healthier lifestyle. And her story is incredible. She went from being an athlete in college to starting to figure out macros, to restricting herself so much, to learning so much along the way. And now she's teaching her clients how to enjoy health and fitness and how to not restrict themselves and not have to go towards extreme dieting in order to see results. So as you can hear from what she's doing, we vibed, and this is an incredible conversation that you're going to get so much value from, whether you're an athlete or just somebody who's trying to level up or somebody who's trying to become a coach themselves. This episode is going to add a ton of value. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. All right, Emma, welcome to the show. I want to pronounce your last name, but I also don't want to butcher it. So why don't you give yourself a little bit of an intro here?
Yeah, that's fair. It's kind of a weird one. So thanks for having me, Caitlin. My name is Emma Kirchner. I'm a health and fitness coach and just recently left my 9 to 5 in January to do this full time.
Ooh,
So
that's super exciting. Um,
yeah,
how long were you said you were a software engineer, right?
yes, yeah. Yeah, I went to undergrad and grad school for it, which is kind of
Wow, that's a lot.
funny. Yeah. And I realized like I really didn't enjoy it. Um,
Hmm.
and I went through a bunch of health and fitness struggles, basically everything under the sun. And so on the side, I started coaching for fun, went through some certs, and realized it was my passion. So that's why I ended up leaving my career in coaching.
That's such a big, exciting thing to do because I've known so many like I've always been a trainer or a coach. Like when I was 18 is when I started working in
Oh,
gyms as
wow.
early as I could. So like the only job that I've had outside of like managing gyms and being a sales manager for gyms and trainers and stuff was like when I was younger, I was an Italian ice stand girl. So that's all that I know. But I think it's like such a
Awesome.
big pivotal moment for somebody to actually take the leap because I know that's not like it's a very scary leap because you don't you don't get into fitness for the money, you know?
Yeah. And it was very scary. But I got to the point where I was like super awful to be around because I was working so much. And my
Yeah,
husband's like, we're gonna make it work. And I'm like, sweet, let's do it.
I love that so much. You need that support system. You can't really do stuff like that without it, you know?
Yeah, there's no way I would have been able to do what I did without him. He's been supporting me throughout the way, and I'm really grateful to have him.
I love that. That's relatable. My husband's literally the same way.
That's
So
awesome.
let's talk about, well, we're here today because actually we had a just like a random conversation in the Mind Pump Fitness Coaches group. So I'm assuming you've done their cert and everything.
Yes, yeah. Actually, they're the reason I'm a coach.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I was addicted to exercise is probably like an understatement. Um,
relatable.
yeah, and so I was a D1 athlete in college. And COVID hit and I lived in California, so couldn't see anybody or do anything.
Yeah.
So I just exercised like 4 hours a day because that's all I knew how to do, and it made me feel good, kind of.
Yeah, for like the moment. And then you realized over time that like, oh, I can actually feel really good if I actually do the appropriate dose, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like looking back so disordered.
Oh,
Yeah, really bad, and I was getting injured,
mm-hmm.
and but I thought like that's what you needed to do to be healthy because I always worked out for 4 hours a day.
Yeah, no, I totally that's like when I was in college I kind of did the same thing. It was like my escape from life was like, let me just go to the gym for like 4 hours and do just like everything. And being injured and being tired is normal. You know, that's just part of it, right?
Yep. Yeah, I was probably, and where I lived, all the gyms were closed.
Yeah, California,
And
I'm sure you guys were closed probably the longest of most states.
it was crazy. It was so crazy. And so I was like, well, crap, what am I going to do? I played water polo and they even closed the pools. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, this kills literally everything. Like you
Hmm.
go in there and like your skin, like your everything. Like, so anyway, I couldn't swim for a while, so I started running and
Hmm.
I was running. I was not a runner. I was a swimmer and stuff, and I was probably running like 40 to 50 miles like a week.
Damn, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Zero to all of that too. It wasn't like, I'm sure it wasn't like a gradual build. It was like, okay, we're just gonna start running like 4 miles every day.
Yes, and I did not understand intensity. So it was always like fast as I could go up a
Yep.
hill.
Yep.
Yep.
That's how everybody I feel like starts to get in shape. It's like, I'm just gonna go on a run and I'm just gonna run. And it's like, okay, there's no rhyme or reason for it. And they think that like that's the best way to lose body fat because like it burns the most calories for the time being, right?
Yeah. And I actually, so when I started, I was like fairly lean
Mhm.
because I was a D1 athlete. So I was
You're an
working out
athlete.
already a lot and I was orthorexic
Hmm.
because I thought I could only eat whole foods. And bread was bad for me. I wouldn't eat carbs. So many
Oh,
disordered.
so many things.
Yeah. So, just running, starting to run, like I did kind of lean out quickly, but then with all the injuries and I also had a really poor relationship with food
Mhm.
because, well, obviously the Whole Foods extreme thing. But growing up, my dad like heavily restricted like the foods that we could have in the house.
Hmm.
And so actually when I went to college, I got really overweight, even
Okay.
though I was very active because
Because
I
you were
would
like, I wasn't allowed to have these things, so now I'm gonna have all of them, right?
pint of ice
Like
cream
what
every other
most
night.
clients do when they first like go through like that binge or strict cycle. That's what we're trying to prevent with people, but a lot of people find themselves there. Like, I can only eat chicken, broccoli, and rice, and then Friday through Sunday, they black out and eat like 10,000 calories of pizza, you know?
Yep, kind of that, but like every other day.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
I didn't understand like the concept of calories or macros or anything. Like no, I was never taught that even as like an athlete. Like I had no idea. I
Which
just
is crazy, honestly. Like there should be more. I feel like there's more information out there now just because of
yes.
social media, things travel faster. But like I know growing up as a kid, like there was literally, I didn't know anything. And our parents really didn't know anything either. So they'd be like, oh, let's go here and there to McDonald's or whatever. And, eat
Yep.
bread and like we're trying, but nobody actually knows what we're doing?
Yeah. And so I'm like, well, I work out so much I can eat whatever.
Yep.
And I was always hungry because I wasn't making the right choices.
Mhm.
So probably put on like 30, 40 pounds maybe my freshman year.
Yeah. So is that kind of what initially pulled you into the fitness space, I guess, is my question.
Well, so
Athlete, was that like how you got into it or?
yeah, so I was always active.
Yeah.
And nutrition, I never thought about it. I just would eat what I liked, obviously restricted at home and that sort of stuff. And then it was really like I realized I went to the doctor my freshman year. I got mono because I was drinking a lot too. So there's like that, all those
All the things.
things. And so I probably drank from somebody's drink that had mono or something. Anyway, I got really sick, and so then I couldn't train, and I was still doing the unhealthy food stuff and overeating and still binge drinking. And I went to the doctor, and I was like 215 pounds, and I'm like 6 feet, and so probably should be like 170, like 65, so like pretty overweight, and I was like very active.
Yeah. Was that the
So that,
biggest you had been up until that point in your life?
yeah, for sure. I never really like focused on the scale up until
Right.
that point. Because I'm like, oh, I'm active,
Yep.
I never worried about it. And then I was like, whoa, I weigh how much? And
Mhm.
that's when I was like, okay, I need to start doing something. Um, but didn't do the right things, still didn't understand calories or,
Mhm.
how to train properly. I always overdid it.
Yeah, because you're an athlete. So you're
Yeah.
like used to like, because athletes are like, right now I'm training to become a professional CrossFit athlete. And a lot of my clients will look at my workouts and start comparing. And I'm like, no, no, no. I'm not like, I'm training for performance. Very, very different from training for like health and aesthetics. Like, I understand that like my health is going to take a, like, probably a back turn here because I'm training for performance. But it's kind of like something that you accept as an athlete versus like now you're at this point in your life where you step on the scale and you're 215 pounds. You're like, shoot, how do I actually handle this? Because I've always just been an athlete, right?
Yeah, and I had no idea what to do. The doctor didn't even say anything about that.
Yeah, they never knew.
Yeah, I'm like, I
Good
would,
luck.
yeah, no, they didn't even mention the weight. Like, they didn't
Yeah,
even say you're overweight or anything. And I was
because
thinking,
the reality is you probably weren't that overweight compared to a lot of the people that they see, right? Because I feel
yeah,
like doctors probably have like a very biased, because the people who are going in to see them are probably unhealthy people. Like they don't usually see like fit and healthy people go in there, you know?
yeah. I mean, I would say at the time I did not look fit and healthy. I have like photos of it. I looked very inflamed and like a
Yeah.
different person. Like I showed my husband, he's like, "That was you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Like
Yeah.
it's
I mean, drinking all the unhealthy food, that'll definitely do that, especially as an athlete. You probably weren't recovering the way that you needed to.
no, I had no idea about protein or sleep. And I was also like chronically undersleeping.
Oh, great. Yeah. All you have all of the
Yeah.
things. Your body was just on fire, basically.
Yep. Yeah. So it's, and then so from there, like I was like, oh, I just have to do more activity.
Yeah.
And, so I just kept, and well, part of it, like with sports, like you're talking about, you have to train a lot because you need to perfect the movements, you need to practice, you need to get better. And
Yeah.
so sometimes training more for a sport, that's actually very good for performance, but for aesthetics, not at all.
Yeah. Because it's like with a sport, you have to perfect the skill of the sport, but you also have to like get strong, be conditioned, and do all of these things that go with it. And then a lot of athletes, especially females, they just don't fuel themselves enough,
Yes.
is what I find with the right types of food, you know?
Yes. Yeah, and so I lost weight when season came on
Yeah.
because it's, we're strength training 3 times a week. We're in the pool for 3+ hours. We'd have like 2 or 3 games a weekend, sometimes 2 or 3 a day.
Mhm.
So with doing that, it kind of came off. I was still like not like healthy and I didn't look like I'd like to. And then that sophomore year, didn't know what I was doing, but I started like eating healthy, like lower calorie things.
Less
Um,
like less
yes.
processed, like the typical person who's like, I eat healthy, and I'm like, okay, define that, and then they tell me all of like the nuts that they're eating and all of the calories that they're actually consuming.
A lot of avocado toast bagels.
Oh, very
Yeah.
healthy, yes.
So like I was it was better than what I was
Yeah.
doing before for
I
sure.
think that's something that's important to highlight too, is like I think too many people they go on social media and they think like, oh, it has to be perfect. And until it's perfect, they won't actually act on anything. When it's like, no, if we can just like if you're eating McDonald's every day for lunch, if we just maybe did it every other day, like that's a win, you know?
Yes, yes, exactly. That's what I try to get my clients to understand. But I think, like, I'll go through my client check-ins and stuff, and it's like, oh, this woman, she was sleeping 3 to 4 hours a night.
Holy. I have a client who's like that actually, and he'll text me and be like, I slept 4 hours tonight. And I'm like, what?
But it was like she couldn't sleep. Like her hormones were out of whack, menopause, all the things. And we reduced her stress. She went on hormone replacement, worked on fueling her body more. This week in her check-in, said she got 9 hours of sleep one night, and
Right.
now her average is like 7.
See, like people don't recognize that as a win because so
No,
many clients focus on like, oh, but the scale isn't down. And I'm like, but like you lifted 20 more pounds on your back squat than you did last week. Like that would be crazy.
right?
But
Yeah,
they don't celebrate the wins that actually matter, because I mean, society has taught us to do the same. And I think it sounds like you've been there too, as yourself. And I've been there where it's
yes.
only focused on the scale and nothing else mattered. But if I were to look back at my journey and be like, oh, wow, I should have celebrated more things, you know?
Yep. Yeah, same here. Like I'm also like very like type A-esque. So it's
Yeah.
like even when I get to what I wanted to be, I'm not even celebrating or thinking about it. I'm like, okay, what's next? And
Always. It's like proud but never satisfied, which I think is like good to an extent, but it's also bad in the sense where I don't know about you, but I'm like always looking for like more productive ways to rest. I'm like, rest, what is that? Don't know that. Nope. So it's like
yep,
you realize like, oh, I actually do have to shut down or I'm going to be overstimulated like my whole life.
yep. It's I've finally kind of set aside like a 7 p.m. cutoff for work, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty consistent with it for the most part.
That's actually really good. I think boundaries are such an important thing for people who are more type A, like high achiever people. Like I know that everybody who listens to this podcast, the powerhouse mentality, has a focus on like trying to be the best version of themselves. And the amount of like messages I'll get where it's like, I'm doing all of these things. I'm like, but what are you doing to fill the cup back up so that you don't explode at some point, you know?
Yep. Yeah, and that was something it took me a while to learn. Um,
Hmm.
'Cause it's like, well, what happens in rest? Nothing. You're like technically not productive, but
Yeah.
that's what helps you be more productive when you
Exactly. I like to think of it like that perspective shift is like, okay, well, I'm looking at rest not as like something that's not productive, but something that's allowing me to be more productive in my day to day. Because I'm sure you notice a difference when you're like burnt out and you're trying to like be present for your clients and do a podcast and do all these things versus like when you've had a good night's sleep and you took a little bit of time to recover. It's a night and day difference.
Oh yeah, totally. It's been a game changer for my mental health too. I'm a lot more enjoyable to be around.
Yeah, that's always fun for everybody else too, you know?
Yes.
So when you started eating healthier in sophomore year, like you said, avocado toast, things like that, when did you start to like actually acquire the thought process of like calories and macros and things like that?
That took a while,
Hmm.
actually. So I started dating my husband junior year, and I was always trying to lose weight because I was always taller and bigger than everybody because I'm 6 feet tall. Like
Yeah.
that's not super common for women. So I always felt like awkward, uncomfortable. And so I was always trying to be smaller and stuff. And he's like, "Hey, protein."
Hey, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's how that's how I got to tell my husband about protein. Just like, hey, you should focus on this thing called protein and it'll actually help you a lot.
Yeah, and so because I was not eating enough, I started, just supplementing with, 2 shakes a day.
Mhm.
My performance was improving, energy levels, sleep, all the things. Um, but then so he had disordered habits too. He used to be like really overweight and lost weight and all this stuff. So he thought carbs were bad for you. And so then I kind of adopted that as well.
Yeah. So some
Um,
good influence, some bad influence, but I feel
yeah.
like everybody at some point in their fitness journey has been afraid of carbs.
Yes. I feel like that's like the number one thing that people start with usually.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like, especially now, I feel like if you're on social media at all, you know protein is like probably important. If you don't, then like you're probably living under a rock or you just don't pay attention to fitness content. But like everybody talks about protein, but I feel like not enough people actually talk about carbs and fats and how absolutely, I mean, carbs technically aren't essential, but they really kind of are essential if you want to perform it anyway. Because I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but like if I'm not having carbs, then I'm not a happy person at all.
Yeah, and my performance tanked.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like not eating carbs. I mean, it helped me. Like I had a problem with sugar and other things because of that poor relationship. So it kind of helped me break that like binge and restrict kind of
Which
cycle with
is
a lot
great.
of
You have to
things.
look at it from that way too. It's like, okay, well, maybe this was a good mindset in the moment. Everything happens for a reason, right?
Yes. So it helped a little bit.
Hmm.
But yeah, then I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like my performance is really bad. And so then like I started integrating more potatoes and like rice and other things. Still like kind of restricted. Like it had to be like whole foods. Like I wouldn't enjoy other things. But
Like
I then
bread and cereal and things that are delicious.
yes, yeah. I well sometimes it had to be like a special sourdough.
Oh yeah. I
I
mean,
would be
I love sourdough.
elated.
Sourdough's like the shit, to be honest. Like there's an obsession with sourdough lately, and I'm all for it.
Same here. So we moved from California and there
Oh
was like
yeah, so you know the real stuff then.
yeah, and there was a really good bakery near my in-laws' place. And I'm really sad now because like Utah people have terrible tastes and they don't know how to make good sourdough.
Yeah,
So
I understand that. Like I've went from New York to North Carolina to now Florida. So like New York, I mean like the food there is unbelievable and you can get really anything that you want whenever you want. And then North Carolina, same, they had like solid bakeries. Like there was this place where
really,
there was this place where I got really good sourdough that was like super close. Now down here, I'm like, where is anything? I'm in the middle of nowhere on the panhandle of Florida. Nothing good here.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm people love fast food in Utah. So that's what we have everywhere.
Yeah, yep, yep. It's funny, what part of California are you actually from? Are you from like San Francisco area or more like southern?
Yeah, like probably like 45 minutes south of there.
Okay, yeah, so
So
then
like right next to Mine Pump,
oh,
actually.
yeah, for real?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
dope. Have you ever been to the studio for like I know they do some in-person events?
Yeah, actually, so I kind of know Kyle a little bit because
Okay.
I tried to send my mom there and she didn't follow through with the training with him.
Don't ever listen to us.
Yeah. So I knew anyway, so I hit him up when I was there last time when I stopped by and said hi to the trainers and stuff. So
Oh,
I've been a
cool.
couple times.
That's
But
dope. What actually got you into Mind Pump in the first place?
I was listening to a podcast called The Genius Life, like
Yeah,
Max Lugavere,
I love Max.
and
It's great.
he's great. Yeah. And that's what so that kind of made me so kind of extreme, like orthorexic for a period of time.
That's like I love like the Model Health Show and Max Ludwig. I love those things, but I can only because I'm still like have like disordered stuff kind of I'm working through. But like if I listen to too much and I'm like trying to educate myself, I start getting like, oh well, like does this apply to me? And like all these over extreme things.
Yep, yeah. It's I feel like when you've had like a disordered relationship with food or exercise, whatever, it's always there.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I know that like I think Jason Phillips said it once where it was like you always have it, but you just become better at overcoming and silencing the noise. Like you don't
Yes.
on those thoughts, you just have them.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So I still have some of those tendencies to like I want to do more with my exercise and stuff. But then I remember it's like, oh, when I was doing the right amount, I got way better results.
I think that's also the thing to keep in mind is like to keep like reminding yourself of like when you got the best results was when you weren't destroying your body on a daily basis.
Yep. And it's hard to get somebody to that point because like to stop doing that destructive cycle, but once you get somebody to try and trust you and do it the right way, then they're like, okay, and they can kind of connect the dots.
It does take a while because a lot of people have like that relationship where they think, I mean, with a lot of things in life, I know Adam says this on the podcast all the time, is like the more you do, the better you get out of it. Like with your career, the harder you work, the more you get from it. But like with fitness, there's like that bell curve to it. So if you do too much, then you kind of just sit there and you're like going to work and you're not getting paid kind of situation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I guess also with work, I think there's like a balance though, because
I do think so too, because like I'm sure you're starting to understand like as a trainer and you're like an entrepreneur and you could easily like work 24/7. But if you
yes.
do like, are you actually being the best for your clients?
Yeah, definitely not.
Definitely not. I know. So you went from then you said it took you a while to figure out the calories and macros thing. So take me through like sophomore year, what happened after that to kind of like continue your fitness journey?
Yeah. So junior year, started dating my now husband, protein, reduced
So hard.
carbs. And then I started to see results because, right, reducing my calories. I had a very
Right.
restrictive diet. It was hard to get enough calories. I was working out a lot. So like looking back makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and then so I kind of started tracking that summer between like junior and senior year, but I didn't really know what I was doing.
Mhm.
So very inaccurate, like looking back. And I wasn't necessarily I didn't know how to set my macros or calories or anything, so I didn't really know what I was doing. Um, and then senior year, I stopped tracking because I was like not fueling my body enough, and I kind of noticed that. And so I just ate when I was hungry, um, and primarily whole foods, that sort of stuff. I was eating carbs then, just
Nice.
very selective carbs. So like specific sourdough, some rice, some potatoes. And I had to eat like a lot. I was like one of the starters. We were training a
Yeah.
lot. I would walk to and from all my classes and everything. So probably almost eating 4,000 or if not more calories a day.
You weren't tracking at this time, you're just kind of you were intuitively eating almost.
Yeah, so I was just trying to listen to my body and eat when I was hungry, and then I would make sure I had fuel
Hmm.
because I would go to practice and some of my teammates would show up. Our practice was like at 5 p.m. and they'd be like, I haven't eaten all day. And I'm like, what the fuck?
I
Like,
don't understand how I really don't understand how athletes fuel because I like the amount of food right now I'm eating like 3,200 and we're trying to push for more, but I'm very stubborn. We'll get there. But like I look at some other athletes who I know are training a lot and I see what they're eating and I'm like, how do you actually perform?
yeah, and I'm like they had the talent and the skill, like they've been swimming for a while, like water polo, like they've been playing for a decade. But I'm like, how you would be so much better if you ate properly.
I
And
really do believe that a lot of female athletes could be like they're capping themselves, because they
yes.
do not fuel enough. And I hope that like we're starting to see a movement towards people starting to fuel more. But man, there's some bad, like there's no education behind it.
Yes.
That's really what it is.
Nothing. And water polo, bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, we had a nutritionist every other Friday, but it was like mostly basketball, got and women's soccer. Our women's soccer team at my university was like really good. Like they've
Yeah.
won the NCAAs like a bunch of times. So they would get like top selections and top things
Yeah,
and
they got the priority and you guys were just like, hi.
yep, yeah, us and women's rowing were kind of bottom.
Yeah, what school did you go to?
Santa Clara University.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, and most of my teammates did get injured
Weird.
because like looking back and or not hydrated. They like didn't drink water. They
No
didn't,
electrolytes, people fear salt.
yeah. And poor diets, like really poor. Like it was like atrocious, like what some people would eat. Like and not like, oh, you shouldn't not eat this, but it's like that's all they were eating. Like,
Yeah,
like
that's the thing.
French
It's like you can
fries.
have a little bit, like it's the moderation type thing. Like if we're
Yeah.
hitting a protein goal, we're getting in enough micronutrients, we're prioritizing all that, and then you have the little extra stuff that you want to have. That's fine. But I know that like I wasn't a college athlete, but I was a high school athlete. And I just remember like before basketball games, them giving us like Papa John's. And I'm like, this is like at the time you're just like, oh yeah, this is what I'm eating. And now I look back, I'm like, what the hell?
In college, after our games, parents would bring like Costco muffins. I'm like, are you
Replenishing
serious?
glycogen stores.
Yeah, but like no protein, nothing. It
Yeah,
maybe cheese sticks, maybe like
maybe.
chocolate milk, maybe. But it's
There was
like,
a hot minute where chocolate milk was like the premier post-workout shake, and I look back and I'm like, why? I mean, it has a little bit of sugar, it has a little bit of protein, but like we need more carbs, we need more protein, less fat.
yes. And I'm like what? And we when we would travel, we would eat crap.
Yeah, I'm
It,
sure.
I'm like, what? Why are we going to fast food joints? This is terrible.
I think now they're starting to actually get better, at least at a higher level where they're like prioritizing nutrition because I think lately with like the whole like Make America Healthy Again movement, we're starting like I mean food dyes, they're not as big of an issue as people think they are. Like we
Yeah.
really need to like be like that's cool and all, like they do make an impact, but they're not gonna like change somebody from being extremely obese to not being obese. That's not like the first thing I'd be like, well, like how much food dyes are you eating? I'd be like, well, how many calories are you eating? But, we're hopefully making a movement towards healthier habits. That's the biggest thing.
Yes. Yeah. And that's I'm a fan of the idea, but I don't
Yes.
think it's being implemented properly.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Like
Yeah.
the reality is like the first things they're tackling should be like, education on like calories and macros and things that matter instead of and protein, right? Instead of
Yeah.
like no seed oils, no artificial colors because they don't make as much of an impact as people think they do. And the people usually who complain about them because like I'll post something on TikTok. I posted actually like a TikTok and I'm new to TikTok. So I posted this thing and I was like something about Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets have like there's a 30 piece that has 98 grams of protein. So I was like, so you can always make a better choice. The point of the TikTok was you can always make a better choice. And I got
Yeah.
people in the comments being like, but look at all the ingredients, but look at all like the sodium and look at all the cholesterol. And I'm like, but look at like the fact that it's a better choice than like what most of you are probably making. Because the people who usually complain about those things, the seed oils and the colors, they're the ones who are binge drinking on the weekends.
Yeah. It's crazy. I'm really bad at saying, so I can't remember the saying and I don't want to give it over. We're like missing the forest for the trees or whatever that saying is, you
Yeah,
know?
I know what you're saying. It's like everybody wants to major in the minors instead of actually
Yes.
focusing on what truly drives the needle forward. And I'm assuming that throughout your whole journey from like restricting well, to getting overweight, to then restricting, to not understanding calories and macros, to then like actually fueling your body, you started to learn like I want to help people not have to go through all this shit that I went through.
Yeah, well, part of it too is I lost my menstrual cycle for like 6 years.
Mhm.
And so it was like a big challenge getting that back. So it was like my junior year or maybe senior year fall or something, I lost it. And like finally,
That
after,
makes sense actually based on like when your timeline of like restriction and stuff. So, and then senior year, you actually started to fuel your body a little bit more.
yeah, but I was still doing so much with
Yeah,
all
you
the
do so much
stress.
activity.
Yeah. I was sleeping. I was
That's
sleeping. So
nice.
that's good.
Hey,
Yeah.
you were getting better, but your body
Yes.
was still just like, nah,
Yeah.
stress.
Yeah, too much stress. I was taking all the classes, doing all the things. And then yeah, COVID. And so with COVID, the
Yeah,
overexercising and
over.
all that stuff. Um,
What
and
year did you
then
graduate college from?
2020. So it
Okay,
was
yeah, so right with COVID. Wow, that's you just got out of there in time, huh?
well, my last year
Kind
of
of,
water
not really.
polo
Yeah.
was cut off because we're like spring. Yeah, it was like so heart-wrenching because I was like the
Yeah, being a
best
senior,
I've been.
man, that sucks, man. But again, everything happens for a reason. It kind of
Yeah.
pushed you into health and fitness and truly finding your passion.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm no regrets. Bummer, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
So
And
have you
then
gotten your menstrual cycle back then?
yes. So I got it back and so I overcorrected. I put on too much weight because I was really scared I was listening to Mind Pump and they said if you don't have a menstrual cycle, you're not healthy. And I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I don't have one. I'm like, well, what the hell? So
I feel like that's such like I love the guys, but I think that's like such a like it's not like that black and white, I feel like, right? Because I mean, I'm gonna say it. I haven't had a menstrual cycle since 2012.
oh wow.
So I had a bad eating disorder and then like my recovery was like, let's do bodybuilding competitions, right?
Ah,
And
yeah.
now I'm trying to become a CrossFit athlete and running multiple businesses. So it's like I understand why. It's just, am I truly not healthy or am I just like a little bit stressed, right?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I mean, there are some like biological things
Correct.
like more prone to osteoporosis and
Yeah, for
other
sure.
stuff.
And those are
So
like things that I always think about. And like me and my husband trying to get pregnant at some point, it's like, oh, I need to get this figured out. And it's things that I'm working on. But also, I think that saying that it's unhealthy is too black and white of a statement,
that's fair. I'd say that, but it was the wake up call that I needed.
which
So
is a good thing because like I know that they've said that too before. And I'm like, you know,
yeah, I needed to hear that because I was like, oh, I had no idea. I never learned about that. I didn't know
yeah,
anything about hormones.
most people don't. And that's
Yeah.
another thing that needs to be educated on because so many people don't know about hormones. And I think that a lot of people, because the amount of clients who I've had to go get blood work done and they come back and it's like a complete shit show. Like so many people in our generation have issues that people years back didn't have.
Yes. It's crazy. My husband's been having a lot of health issues and we've been trying to figure them out. Thankfully, we did. So we thought he had just like low testosterone because of poor sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep quality is actually kind of okay, but he has chronic fatigue. And so we're like, what the fuck is it?
Yeah.
It's his gut. So,
Makes sense. How'd you
yeah.
figure that out? Did you just do some like food sensitivity testing or gut testing or?
we had to poop in a box.
That's
And
always a fun one.
yeah.
We love that.
So not like super fun to do, but I'm so glad that we did it. Because
Having like actual gut issues too.
so yes and no. Like personally, I also had the same thing as him. Mine was just like way better. Like his is like 10 times worse kind of thing. I had a lot of physical symptoms like bloating, gas, weird bowel movements and stuff.
Yeah.
He doesn't have like he can eat anything. Like he can eat a whole can of beans, no gas.
I
Yeah.
would die.
I so
I would actually die.
yeah, I cannot even have one. It
Yeah.
like wrecks me. So I we always thought his goat was fine because he could eat that. He can literally eat anything, but he has like skin issues, like
That's such
severe like
a too.
yeah, and that's like okay, he's always had these skin issues. He chronic fatigue, like
Hmm.
wakes up. We have a really good sleep routine, a good sleep schedule and stuff, always tired. Um, Low energy,
Yeah.
and then testosterone being like lower than it should be given lifestyle, that's kind of a red flag that there could be
Yeah.
something going on. And so that's kind of how we connected the dots. Um, and so that's why we did the GI map.
Hmm.
So that's the pooping in the box. So
Always fun. There's so many interesting tests to do out there.
are I only recommend it if you really aren't
Yeah,
sure.
like if you really think something's
Yeah.
very wrong, last
Yes.
resort. Other than that, probably just get some blood work done and figure out what's going on because most people just don't get blood work done regularly enough. I'll ask them and be like, "When's the last time you had blood work done?" And they're like, "I don't remember."
Yeah, or I've never had it done. I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
My brother, I keep telling my brother he needs to get blood work done because I coach him too, and he's afraid of needles. It's like, bro, I know you're messed up. We need to just figure out what is messed up about you. And the funniest part is that he herniated a couple discs
Mhm.
earlier this year. Yeah, it's like the worst experience. I don't know if you've ever herniated a disc, but
Oh,
it's always been my biggest fear, and I did it earlier this year. I was having a lot of like SI joint issues, and I was
oh,
like ignoring them and overtraining and not fueling enough. And then I herniated a disc doing a GHD sit up, and it felt like my back exploded. It was terrible. Don't recommend it. But
yeah.
he did that, and then he got like epidural shot in his back. I'm like, so you got this big ass needle, right? But you're afraid to go and get blood work done.
That's crazy. I mean, well,
Battles.
I've had really bad, like, I don't, what are they called? Like lobotomy people or the people that draw the blood or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I've, like, one person one time stabbed me like 10 times to try to find the vein. And I'm
I
like,
bet.
are you serious?
I'm like, you see me, like every time I go to get blood work done, they're like, you're so vascular. And I'm like, thanks. And then there's like that one person who's like, were you drinking last night?
And I'm like, you do this for a living.
Yeah,
Like,
I
you
know.
be pretty good at it, I'd hope, you know?
Yeah. So, question for you, because you were a software engineer, right? And I'm assuming you said you went to grad school. So
Yeah.
what kind of drew you into that field and what drew you out of it?
So I'm a nerd. So video games growing up, always played them, was always good at math.
What was your favorite video game?
Probably at the time as a kid, like Super Mario Galaxy.
We love Nintendo in this house.
Yes, it's great. So that's kind of what drew me in. My dad was an engineer too,
Yeah.
so I like always looked up to him. So I was like, oh, this will be cool. And I liked math and puzzles, so
Yeah.
it kind of fit. And then so I got my master's degree not because I like necessarily wanted to, but it was really hard to find a job during COVID.
Yeah. I
Yeah, yeah, and my
looking
school
for a
needed the
job in a
TA.
software engineer position, like right out of school.
No, I couldn't find one. So
Yeah.
that's why like I was applying. I had internships and a bunch of stuff, and it was just like 2020 when it hit, nobody was hiring. It was really hard. And my school was like, we need TAs, so we'll pay. And I'm like, okay, I don't have anything else to
Yeah,
do.
it's a paycheck, you know?
So I'm like,
2020
oh,
was such a weird year.
yes. Yeah. It was super weird.
Like I think back of it and I'm like, did that actually happen?
Yeah, it's crazy. I had to like move back home And like
Yeah.
we couldn't see like anybody for like it was like 2.5, 3 months in California. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. And so what eventually got you into like where was your first software engineer job then?
It
And
was at a startup.
yeah.
And it's called, so actually it was my only job.
Hey, something.
They're probably low-key out of business.
Was
Well,
this in California or Utah?
it was remote. And
Okay.
so we got a remote job because knew we wanted to leave. So like my husband also got a remote gig,
Nice.
and that's how we ended up here. I like to snowboard.
Yeah,
So
what brought you guys to Utah? Was it just like I want to get out of California, so I'll do anything possible or
yeah, well, I grew up going to ski resorts here.
okay.
So I like to snowboard and hike, and it's
Perfect
beautiful.
place for it.
Yeah, more affordable.
Holy crap, I bet. You're like, oh wow, I can afford groceries now.
Yeah, and it's funny because the prices are kind of going up, and everyone's like, "Damn, it's so expensive." And I'm like, "This is so cheap still."
Yep.
Like,
I mean, I remember when like gas prices were like at their highest, and like my mom's in New York, so she'd like send me a picture of like $6, and I'm like, oh, that's crazy.
yeah, I think there were like some $8 gallon
Dang.
month.
I'd just be like, I'm walking everywhere.
Yeah, it was insane. So that's kind of how we ended up out here.
Mhm.
And yeah, I started so startup and remote. So I've had a lot of free time because I wasn't commuting anywhere.
Yeah,
I was spending all my time listening to health and fitness podcasts anyway. And I was like, hey, this is cool. Let me like try to get a cert for fun.
yeah.
Uh,
Because you was it, like, what was the main reason why you got into it? Was it just because you were like becoming a nerd for it, or did you want to like help the person that you used to be?
both. So it
Yeah.
was like a combo. It's like I've gone through a lot of things. I wished I had somebody to,
Mm.
because I never had a coach. I didn't even think about it. I didn't even know that was an
Yeah, I
option.
think that like back in 2020, I think 2020 is when online coaching started to become like very pop, obviously. People were like, "Oh, I can't train in gyms." And people think that like, "Oh, I can make so much money online coaching because there's so many
Yep.
things out there." Um, so everybody was like, "Oh, let me do online coaching." And now everybody knows that it's a thing, so people are willing to invest in it versus like when you were doing your own health and fitness journey, it was like, "Oh, I didn't even know that was an option."
Yeah. And that's what, like, looking back, I wished I had had someone. So that's kind of why I got into it.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're like all qu most qualified to help the person that we used to be. And it sounds like based on like, because I was reading your Instagram bio and it's like helping high achievers without
Yes.
extreme dieting and stuff. And I'm like listening to your story and it's literally like you want to help the person that you used to be.
Yeah. Because man, I see like people doing all the things, like you're doing so much,
Hmm.
but you don't need to do that much.
Yes.
And
It's nice when you can show them the light.
yes, because it was like, it took me still a while to like reduce my cardio to just walking.
Oh yeah. Because it's scary, you know?
Uh,
You
I'm
think
like, I
like
gotta
it's
get
gonna go
fat.
backwards on you, you know?
Yep. And I'm like, I was like addicted to it. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Um, and so actually moving to Utah helped with that because when I was in California, I would swim or run every day
Mhm.
and lift every other day.
Mhm.
And I'm not training for anything. I wasn't recovering. I was always pushing like 110% all the time.
Yeah, and you
Uh,
said you were getting injured, right?
yes, a lot of injuries, always sore, always tired.
Did you have
Like
any like really bad injuries that like made you think about things, or was it just like little things here and there?
just like little things here and there. I did dislocate my shoulder, but
That's not.
that was not through that was I tried to pick up skateboarding. And I'm really tall, so when I fall,
Yeah, that's hard.
so that was like the big injury. But other than that, just like little things.
Yeah.
So but
Yeah,
looking
I call
back,
them like little like little niggles. People like ignore like my back hurts or like my ankle hurts or I have plantar fasciitis and people just ignore these things and then what I found is like the more that I fuel my body, the less I have those aches and pains.
yes, definitely. It made a huge difference. Even like I said in college when I was actually like eating enough that last year. Um, I was not getting sick. I was not getting injured. All of my teammates were. but I was doing well. I was performing well. Just eating enough. It's so like understated.
It is because, for a while society made us think like we need to be as small as possible, we need to eat as little as possible, move as much as possible. When in reality, that's like a recipe for complete disaster.
Yes. Yeah. And that's part of my disorder thing is I did that like a lot. And that was like kind of probably like going into like senior year of college. I was doing that over the summer.
Mhm.
And then when I like started school, I tried to keep doing it, but then I was like, well, I'm not performing well. And so that kind of is what shifted things.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask like what made that shift happen. It was just like good self-awareness, it sounds like.
Kind of, because then I went back to it.
Yeah.
So
Which, you know, I feel like it's like an addiction. It's like a drug addict going back to their
yes.
like their thing. So what does your fitness routine look like now? Because I'm curious, since you went from like over-exercising during COVID, like where are you at now?
So for the past, probably I'd say like since I moved to Utah, maybe like well, it was like probably 6 months in, I stopped doing cardio. So it's probably been like 2.5-ish years.
That's
I like,
awesome.
well, kind of. So I, s- I hired a coach, and I'm trying a new like kind of modality of training. So I've started doing zone 2, but it's
Okay.
not like I'm going and running up a hill like 110% and not recovering. It's like I'm doing like a little zone 2. But before that, like really nothing, just strength training and walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, maps, mind pump programs for the most part until I hired my coach.
Thanks. Which ones did you do?
I think I've done anabolic performance aesthetic, symmetry. The 15s, I really like the mass 15s.
Yeah. I use that kind of structure, like 15-minute for a lot of my clients because
Same.
I have a lot of parents who are like they have young kids and it's like they cannot do a 45 to an hour and a half workout a day.
It's not realistic for a lot of parents.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
especially like even just people who work. Like I have a client who's a therapist and she's constantly working and she's like, "Can I just like do the workout between clients?" And I'm like, "Yes, you can. You can just do like little exercises."
Yeah, and I was doing those because when I was working my software role and really trying to scale my coaching business, I was working, like I said, like 14-hour days.
Yeah, you were working 24/7 at that point.
Yeah, kind of. So I'm like, I need to do something for my mental health, but I'm like, I do not have the time to go to the gym and do like an hour lift. I just couldn't
Yeah.
fit it in. So,
That's the perfect opportunity for you to start using it. And then like I
yeah.
love that you've done all of those different types of programs because then you can be a better coach for your clients to be like, "Oh, well, this worked for me in this situation, so it'll probably work for this person here."
Yep. And I leverage a lot of their programs. Obviously, I update it depending on the person, their injury history, their movement patterns and stuff. But
They work
and
as great templates.
yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice. So, did you join the Mind Pump coaching thing before you left your job or after?
Before. So I
Okay.
was one of the first like 100 people who signed up.
No. I was wanting to be that person, but I definitely wasn't.
Yeah, I was like, I need to do this. I want to visit the studio.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, so I wanted to do it so bad, but my bank account was like, no, 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 you cannot.
I still had the software income, so I could like
Nice.
lever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So then you had all these experiences. Did you start like scaling your business a little bit more to the point where you're like, maybe I can actually leave my job? Or when you first became a coach, was that even like a thought in your mind?
So the original plan was to like do it slowly and
Hmm.
just like do it part-time, like really low key, not like trying to push
Yeah.
because I had a job and it was paying me well and I could coach for fun and I enjoyed doing it. But then, and the plan was like, okay, I get pregnant, get maternity leave, and then I just don't come back to my job.
Funny.
Uh, and that didn't pan out because I was working at a mortgage software company, and the mortgage industry was very bad.
Oh,
Um,
that's
yeah, and so it was like really terrible. They were making poor decisions and stuff. And so I was like, I'm stressed. I don't enjoy this anymore. It's not fun to work here. They were doing a lot of layoffs.
Mm,
and they were laying off like really good people. And
yeah.
so I'm like, I'm ready. And so I like probably that was last March 2024, like
Okay.
early April. I was like, okay, like let's do this. Let's try to start, scaling and actually like building a business. Like it was kind of just like a hobby
Yeah, it was
before.
just like, I mean, when it's like when you label it as a part-time gig, you're not like putting your whole heart and soul into it because you know, like, oh, I have this other thing to fall back on. But it sounds like you kind of took away that other thing to fall back on and kind of forced yourself to like put your back against the wall, you know?
Not quite because I still like I stayed until January of this year. So I
Okay.
had like I don't know, what is that? April,
Like,
like it was like 8 months or something, nine
yeah,
months.
so did you like give yourself like once I get to X amount of clients or X amount of monthly income, this is when I can go?
That was kind of the goal, but I never ended up
That
hitting
was
those.
literally how I did that too. Because I was working for gyms and like after COVID, I just like would always be like working on my online business and stuff. And then my husband was like, I believe in you, just do it, we'll figure it out. I was like, okay. And you go like head deep and you're just like, holy shit, did I make the right decision? Right?
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of what happened.
Yep. I think
Yeah.
honestly that's probably the best way to do it sometimes because it does almost eventually force you to like go all in on it.
Yes. Yeah. And I was already like, so it was a remote job and I was like pretty good at what I had to do. So I would kind of do a lot of my business work during my work
Yep.
hours.
I think everybody finds themselves there when you're starting to like shift into your own thing.
Yeah.
So how have things been going since you left in January?
Pretty good. Well, we've
Highs and
had
lows.
like all the health, like my father-in-law almost died.
Oh
Um,
shit.
my husband's health stuff got like way worse. My mother-in-law like broke her kneecap.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I left my job, so my husband's stressed, which kind of made the gut eat thing worse.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't blame you, you know.
and we got a home because why
Yeah.
not? So,
And nobody told me that home owning is like a shit show.
yeah, our sprinklers have been broken since we moved in, and we live in Utah, and apparently our HOA doesn't like that, and so we've
No
been like
way, man.
scrambling to like fix. It's only like $20 a month, so I'm like, why do you care? Like we're not like it's not like one of those fancy
Yeah.
places. Like they.
HOA is wild, let me tell you. They told us, so we live on Patriot Ridge Drive, right? And on the 4th of July, we get an email from HOA saying no fireworks allowed. You best believe there were many fireworks being set off here.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's just funny how that works. But like you've been through a lot of stress over like the last 8 months, 7 months of the year, just like building this business. But I mean, it sounds like you love it regardless.
Yeah, yeah, and it's slowly been growing. There's been
Yeah.
like dips and things, but like I feel like I'm getting a handle on things and how I want to build my business.
Mhm.
And so it's been good. I've been really enjoying it now, like because some of those crazy things have died down, it's like I have more time to think about how I want to do it and how
Mhm.
I can grow my client base and all that.
Nice. So are you're labeled as a holistic fitness and health coach. So tell me what that means.
So like it's I guess it's kind of a buzzword, but
Okay, I like the buzzwords because I want to almost do it for the audience sake so that they know like what they're looking for in a coach, right? Like, do I want a holistic coach? Like, what is it? What is the difference, right?
yeah, it's not just like workouts and macros.
Mhm.
Basically, it's like I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at your lifestyle. I'm looking at your schedule. I'm looking at your habits. Or if necessary, I can. So I went through a functional nutrition metabolism cert thing, so I could like partner with things to order labs and other
Same.
stuff.
Which one did you do?
FNMS.
I can't remember what I did. No, I did Scooby.
It's been great. Like,
Yeah.
because then it's like an extra thing I can help really like people with really tough like cases, I understand more how to help them. Whereas because like a lot of people, it's like you're eating too much, you're not strength training, it's like the basic stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so that's another thing so that I can offer to them and really like dig deep because like there's some coaches that don't know how to do that, and that's totally okay. But sometimes it's like somebody needs that, so that's kind of why I
I
wanted
think that
to.
a lot of people need that. now more than ever. So I love that you're doing that because so many people don't realize that like your training and your nutrition can be like dialed the fuck in. But if your stress management, your sleep, your hormones, all of those things are out of whack, you're not going to get the results that you want, but you're just going to be super frustrated.
Yep. Yeah, I'll have some of my clients like their habit for the week is like meditating.
Same. Like breathe.
Yes, just breathe, go on a walk outside without your headphones,
Yeah.
without your phone, you know.
These things that like, and they make a huge impact on people's lives because so many people live just super stressful lives.
Yes, and it's crazy. Like most of my client it will t type A like me too, like those high achiever kind of people.
Yep.
We don't take a break like we were talking about earlier.
Right.
And so that's also why like the holistic thing is like you do need to do these things like gratitude, writing down things you're thankful for. Maybe the first hour of the day you don't look at your phone, you know, like stuff like that. It does impact your results, it impacts your health.
It impacts just how you live your life and how you show up for your life. It gives you a better life experience, if nothing else.
Yes.
Awesome. So then what's next for you? Do you have anything like that you're planning on doing like fitness goal for yourself or business wise, or just kind of do
Um,
what you're doing?
yeah, so I hired a coach because
Nice.
I wanted to see what it was like. I've been coached a lot, but I never had a health and fitness coach
Yeah.
like one-on-one. And so I'm like, let's do it. And he's like been coaching for over a decade, so he's more experienced. And for fun, I'm gonna power lift.
Fun. Have you ever done that before?
Nope. So
I think that's gonna be super good for you as an athlete, like having that mindset.
I think so too, because I haven't competed in anything since college.
Yeah, I bet you're like eager to compete in something.
Yeah, I've missed it a lot. So it's kind of fun. So we'll see how that goes. I think like November is I have to pick this month I have to pick the meet I'm gonna
Nice.
do. So we'll see. That's kind of the personal goal. Business, I'm just trying to get more clients right now, like build that out and optimize it, make sure my systems are efficient and effective and like make sense. Like kind
Mhm.
of making sure the onboarding's like fine-tuned so like
Yeah,
most of the
definitely
questions
do
are
that before
answered.
you start getting a ton of clients because once you get like too many, then it's like going backwards. It's don't do that. I've
Yes.
done that.
Yeah, because I did my onboarding like a while back and I'm looking and watching these things and I'm like, oh, I need to like update this for sure.
Which is always a good thing because like one thing that I always think about is like you should look at, for example, your content on social media like from a year ago and almost cringe at it because of how
Yes.
like you've improved, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good perspective shift.
Yeah. I like to perspective really does matter here.
It does for sure.
Cool. Well, my final question for you. Actually, I have two questions, right? Because I almost want to do like, I'm curious to see what your thoughts on this are. So,
Okay.
what is one health and fitness myth that you think needs to die?
There's so many.
I know there's so many, it's hard to choose.
Crap. How about fasting? We'll do the fasting.
Ooh, I like that. So,
Yeah.
tell me why it needs to die.
So celitophagy is what people like talk
God,
about.
such a
And
buzzword. That's a
I
buzz.
know it's a buzzword. And basically it's like your body's like breaking down old cells and replenishing new ones. But that happens every night when you sleep, when you
Yeah,
don't.
that's all just like your body working properly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when people
And
do like a juice cleanse or detox, and I'm like, did you know that your liver actually detoxes for you?
yeah, all the time. Like
Yeah.
24/7. Like who would have thought?
Yep. Because those things sell.
Yeah, and I did the fasting thing too. I didn't even touch on that, but that was like a very disordered like
Mhm.
thing. And so yeah, don't do it unless I mean there's some certain gut health protocols might
Right. It's like
call for that.
extreme situations where like if you like if your gut's really, really messed up, like you would know. Um, and you have to
Yes.
like do a fast, almost like reset things, that's cool. Or if like you're doing it for religious reasons, that's cool.
Yes.
But like don't do it for fat loss because that's terrible.
Yep.
Terrible. I love
Yep.
that that was the one that needs to die because I think that people don't think about that one a lot. They think about, oh, carbs and, you know, all that stuff. Yeah, I know I should probably eat more carbs and The amount of questions, I don't know about you, but I get a lot of questions about intermittent fasting. And I'm like, it's not magical. It's literally just like you have less time to eat, so most people just eat less, you know? It
Yep.
works for your schedule, cool, but if you're like hating your life because you can't eat until noon, there's nothing magic. Like calories a calorie regardless of when you eat it.
Yep. Yeah, I
Cool.
get a lot of those too. Like clients on board, and it's like, okay, you're actually not eating enough. And so we have to stop
Yeah.
this.
Good luck trying to eat all of your protein in an 8 hour window. Probably not going to happen for the person who barely eats 100 grams of protein a day.
Yep.
And then my final question for you is if there was somebody listening to this who's like in the same spot that you were in, where it's like, I really want to jump into this online coaching thing or this in-person coaching thing, but I'm afraid, what would you say to that person who's afraid to go all in?
Just do it because like I was scared shitless.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of imposter syndrome. Like I still have it even though I'm doing this full time. I'd say kind of successfully since it's my only
Yeah.
income.
I mean,
But
I've been a fucking coach and trainer for over a decade and
oh
online for
wow.
5 years, but I still have no idea what I'm doing most days.
Yeah,
Okay, because that's normal.
exactly. So just do your best and think about it like, well, I'm losing my words, but basically somebody will could benefit from your help. There's a lot of people that need help, and you probably, if you're interested in this, you probably know a lot more than the general population. So you can probably help a lot of people.
That's such a good point, actually. I didn't even think about that. It's like somebody needs you, like always, regardless of how terribly you feel or how much of an imposter you feel about it. Like, who's going to listen to me? Somebody's going to listen to you. So go out there and make that one person feel good.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, it's been so great to talk with you and have you on the podcast. And, I'll put all of Emma's information down below, her podcast, and we'll get linked up to do an episode on there. And yeah, everybody go out and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be and stop.